Morgan Stanley CEO James Gorman is planning to step down within the next 12 months. That is the headline that is currently crossing. You can see that shares of Morgan Stanley lower by about 1.7%. As you do see that immediate knee-jerk plunge, remember that they are having their annual shareholder meeting today. So perhaps this is the big takeaway from the whole affair. James Gorman, who has led this company and frankly made some acquisitions that a lot of people really shrugged at, he really expanded it in a way that took it to a new level.
Out of Columbia and then to McKinsey, but with prodigious mathematical skills. And what's interesting here is he is revered for what he did with wealth management and the acquisition of assets for Morgan Stanley. Just one to pick out is Boston's Eaton Vance is one example. But to see this, and I should say in the limited headline we have, there's no discussion of the chairman word. So you wonder what that dynamic will be as well. How
about who the replacement's going to be? What's the bench? Where are they going to look? And then what does this mean in terms of what their longer-term trajectory is, especially after the successful acquisitions and their ability? But just to give you a sense, this was announced at the annual meeting. So this is going to, and this is an answer to your question, he is going to be executive chairman after stepping down as chief executive officer.
Who could we speak to that could talk about the bench at Morgan Stanley? And that would be, I don't know, Ellen Zentner or, Jim Caron will be on with John Farrow in the next hour. No, that's not the bench. Expert at the benches of Wall Street firms is our Bloomberg Someday There'll Be CEO correspondent, Sonali Basak, joins us. Is this a surprise that Mr. Gorman will step aside?
The timeline is certainly a surprise. We knew that it would be coming one day. He's been at the helm for a very long time now, and we know that Morgan Stanley has been prepping the bench for a while. Think about how many people have grown up under James Gorman, have left the firm, and the two men under him right now, Andy Saperstein at the wealth business and Ted Pick, they're homegrown. They have been there for a long time. They have been at the most pivotal moments of the firm, up and down. That is, Ted Pick at the Institutional Securities Division really helped make this tough transition from cutting and adding to the fixed income business, for example, helped competing as the top prime broker on Wall Street in the equities business as well. And over at the wealth business, Andy Saperstein, former consultant, longtime lieutenant to James Gorman. Now, the question is, and waiting for the headlines on this, at what point are they going to announce who is taking over?
Well, let me just read the exact statement. This from Gorman at the firm's annual meeting. He said, "It is the board's and my expectation that it will occur at some point in the next 12 months. He's talking about his departure as chief executive officer and becoming the chair of the board. That is the current expectation in the absence of a major change in the external environment. Also a key question, was this a decision that he made independently for a lifestyle kind of issue? Was this some sort of strategic shift by the board made basically without necessarily his desiring this departure?"
I think that's an interesting question. It's hard to have any evidence of something like that. James Gorman has just made this firm into a behemoth. Remember, when I started covering Morgan Stanley, they were worth much less than Goldman Sachs. Now they are worth much more. That divide has just increased despite many, many doubts. I remember years ago, there was a conference call, and you had analysts asking why he wasn't raising the bar more for Morgan Stanley. And you had James Gorman stepping back saying, "Be patient, we've got this." And ultimately, he was right. And so, again, there's been a lot of consistency here, Lisa, when you look at the next level of the firm. And again, I think this is very classic Morgan Stanley fashion. They announce one change, they give you some time to absorb it, then they announce the next big move.
So it's interesting to me, the point about unless there is some sort of shift in the market conditions at a time when people have been talking about a financial crisis that never transpired, and now people are talking almost about stasis or this calm that has really percolated out. Is this viewed as sort of a calm period, a pond with the ducks sailing across, even if there's paddling underneath, where they can actually make shifts like this without any major disruption and do it easily?
Well, how fascinating to talk about this right before people are worried about a potential recession. Morgan Stanley has seen some of the worst days through 2008. They remember what it felt like. So this is some calm, isn't it? That is saying it is calm enough to start to transition. And by the way, look how many CEOs are changing on Wall Street. This is the time for the next generation to step